It's Patrick from Intensive Care at Home, where we help long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomy and their families to improve their quality of life, and also help hospitals saving money and resources whilst providing quality care. In this week's blog, I want to talk about what an extension of intensive care looks like in the real world. And I want to further evaluate and further explain what intensive care at home services look like and how they work as an extension of hospital intensive care services. So let's say an adult or a child has been in intensive care for a long period of time. And I consider a long period of time around the day 40 to day 60 mark in intensive care. And the only thing that's keeping the adult or the child in intensive care is the ventilator dependency with tracheostomy. Furthermore, it's unlikely that the long-term ventilated adult or child is going anywhere in a hurry, and they are likely to stay in intensive care for long periods to come, which is often the case with long-term ventilated adults or children with tracheostomy. Rather than now waiting for the ventilator-dependent adult or child to go through a long, slow, burdensome, and often difficult weaning process with numerous likely setbacks, including developing or catching an infection in an intensive care environment, Intensive Care at Home provides a genuine, safe, and a more holistic alternative and solution to the problem that the long-term ventilated adult or child, including their family, is facing. Imagine what improvements can be made in somebody's own home by being more flexible, being more mobile, by having more social interactions with family and friends, and by being less dependent on a clinical routine in a clinical environment. How much better does it feel from an emotional and psychological point of view for a client and their family to have choice and more control in their own environment? By taking a long-term ventilated adult or child out of intensive care, a new horizon opens for the often depressed, lethargic, sometimes delirious and sleep-disturbed individual and their families. It makes a massive positive emotional and psychological difference to the clients as well as to the families by having the choice and the opportunity to go home. It also opens up new and exciting opportunities for intensive care units, hospitals, as well as for healthcare funding organizations, whether they be public or private. The service option to go home can be chosen for a long-term ventilated adult or child with tracheostomy if they are likely to improve and if they are likely to be weaned off the ventilator. The service option is also there for long-term ventilated adults or children who are likely to approach their end of life. Rather than spending their last few weeks or sometimes months in intensive care on a ventilator, how much nicer would it be to have quality of end of life in their own home? Some intensive care units are taking some of their long-term patients home for a day before they are starting to palliate those patients back in a clinical intensive care environment. Palliation and quality of end of life can be achieved in a home environment for long-term ventilated clients, and you don't have to wait 60 or 80 days in intensive care before somebody is going home for a day. You can very safely take those clients home and let them spend their last few weeks at home on a ventilator. I'm sure that everybody working in intensive care can picture patients who are suitable for a home care environment, even if you haven't worked in the intensive home care environment. Imagine what it means for a long-term ventilated adult or child to be in intensive care in foreign territory, totally out of their comfort zone, very often with little dignity and little privacy. The same applies to the family of the client. Imagine what it means for the family of a long-term ventilated adult or child in intensive care. How much longer can they watch their loved ones suffer in foreign territory? As always, I'd like your views on this topic. What do you think? Leave a comment below in our comment section. Thank you very much for watching this week's blog, and if you are a health professional in intensive care and you think you know a long-term ventilated adult or child with tracheostomy and their family who would like to improve their quality of life or their quality of end of life in their own home rather than in an intensive care environment, even if it's to go home for a couple of days or for a weekend, and if your organization would also like to save money and resources along the way, or if you simply have any questions, give us a call or fill in our contact form. Thank you very much.